Yeah, we've moved from, like, for example, the Bible having this metaphorical, allegorical way of talking about laws because they wanted to preserve the spirit, and then we wanted to put everything in clear terms. But I do believe that if paradigms will continue shifting, we will have to jump into that abyss of, um, yes, having laws and trusting them, but also trusting the how can I say it, indecidableness of meanings, and opening them up for another way of giving agency, not through control, but just through a morphic resonance in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a leap of big faith. It's a leap to a big abyss, to really, because, uncertainty will happen immediately, and we have so many mechanisms to fight uncertainty. So jumping into interbeing, in a sense, entails a lot of fear, and a jump into what we've never felt that we could be there, because all of our control will be gone. So the question is, how does Charles Eisenstein, for the past years, have been jumping in those abysses, and how does it feel in this roller coaster of managing different ways of being here and communicating?
Gosh, Victor, that's a, I don't know, it's a pretty abstract question for me. For me, I guess a lot of it is this habit of trying to manage people's responses, and to stay safe, which isn't so much, I mean, that actually comes up more in my in like the semantics, in the expository prose, because I'm staking out a position that I think, or I'm saying something that I think no one is saying and that needs to be said. And that's, whenever I touch a controversial issue, that gets me in trouble. And then what happens is I'll lose part of my audience forever. They'll write me off forever, and I'll gain a new audience. But then I'll say something controversial that they don't like, and so that, for me, that's the fear that I've been facing. I mean, it comes down to like psychological stuff about, is dad going to approve of me? Are my friends going to like me? That kind of stuff. And yeah, like the whole first part of our conversation, I've been feeling a little bit like it's been a little bit abstract. I'm actually not that interested in metaphysics right now. I mean, sometimes I'll go there, but if it's not tethered to like an actual concrete problem, I tend to lose interest. And so for me, this is something that's a lot more juicy. Like what, I mean, I guess part of it is like, what am I actually trying to accomplish with my communication? Is it to express a necessary truth as I see it? Or is it to manage and control the world? That's what I've been facing a lot of. So that To Reason with a Madman essay you talked about, part of where I was coming from is it was fear of like being too direct with certain controversial things, but also it was also a weariness of, just with the futility of trying to, because okay, so in The Ascent of Humanity, I had a whole section called The War on Germs, laying out the fallacy of this us-them setup, talking about the importance of body ecology, and having a flow of genetic information through the body, and like that the idea that health requires community, like all this stuff. and warning about where the war on germs could take us. I painted this dystopian fantasy where everybody's walking around in a personal protective bubble. So, and I've revisited that theme again and again. It wasn't controversial, no one was canceling me or deplatforming me or denouncing me for saying those things, for saying it's really important to get sick sometimes. It's really important to share germs. It's really important to get our hands dirty. It's dangerous to use, antiseptic hand sanitizer all the time. Like, no one was denouncing me for that. And then all of a sudden, my dystopian fantasy is coming true before my eyes. And on the one hand, I'm like, my last 15 years of work did no good whatsoever. I gave this clear warning. And here we are in this convulsion of extreme separation beyond what even my dystopian fantasy had envisioned. And so, like, that was the context, I think, of that essay. I was just like in despair. Like, my work isn't doing any good. It's not doing any good. To reason with a madman, it's not doing any good. It wasn't even controversial, yet like people agreed with it. Yet when push comes to shove, it's as if I had never said it. And I'm like, have I spent 15 years saying things that are as if I never said it? What should I do about it? And okay, like, maybe my perception at that time was not accurate. Maybe it did have an effect that is, maybe it would have been worse if I hadn't said those things. Or maybe once we go through this, then the things that I and people like me have been saying will come into their own. I mean, I could make a story about that. But at the time, I just felt this tremendous sense of futility and despair. So I can't remember how I began this, but yeah, so okay. That though, what I chose to do after that was to keep doing it. Because there was part of me that just wanted to play it safe. And when I saw what was happening and envisioned the world that my children would be living in if this continues, I'm like, I have to speak what I am seeing and face this fear. And I did that. And that's when, like, the denunciation and the cancellation and the deplatforming, to this day, I'm still blacklisted from a lot of, platforms and organizations who I used to be like a treasured speaker for, and now I'm like, consigned to the ranks of the deplorables. So,
Yeah. And, I think, you talk about the more beautiful world our hearts know it's possible in a overly intellectual or at least mental, rational society. We do need insanity. We do need to be, in a sense, heretics of whatever we want to uproot or transform. And this is the jump that I guess you lead us. And not only because let's say it this way, we might agree or not agree, but we respect the courage it takes. And I think that is another way of showing new doors for our future.
Yeah. Yeah, two things. One is, like, it's possible that I was wrong about some or most or all of what I said. But I know, at least for myself, I know that I was brave. I was afraid of something and I did it, and I faced the consequences. I faced the fears. I learned about what I was really afraid of. And so for me, it was quite a initiation. There's something else that I wanted to say. Yes. When society has such a deep investment in a certain story and believes the assumptions of that story as if they were undeniable truth, then if you want to change that, you use the word heretic. But I would even say, like, you will be seen as crazy because you will be denying what people think of as objective reality. When you say a more beautiful world is possible, and you start to describe parts of what you've seen that go against what people are told is real, then that's crazy, right? If you're in denial of reality, that's crazy. So where I'm speaking from, like, for example, having seen things in Taiwan that blatantly blatantly violated what I'd been told is real and possible, like stuff with Qigong masters and Chinese medicine and like, Taoist shamans, like ghosts, like people's ghost stories, like this entire culture of folk Taoism, feng shui, like, and you could like look at it in anthropological terms as the system of superstition. But what I saw with my own two eyes is that these things are actually working and experienced in my own body. And that was the beginning of where I'm speaking from today. And since then, I've encountered so many things that don't fit into science is real. Science says, like, and it happened. I saw it, where people I deeply trust experienced it. So I'm speaking from that place, and therefore I'm speaking from a place that is in violation of reality for those who are immersed in standard reality. And I mean, the weird thing is almost everybody is secretly crazy, because almost everybody has had experiences that violate standard reality, but we don't show it. We don't dare say them because, then you get canceled or you get ostracized or you get ridiculed. It's embarrassing. People often will. Now, this is changing, however. The stigma around these reality violating experiences is diminishing. And that is actually a very significant sign, a very significant trend in our society, because it means that reality is falling apart. Standard reality is dissolving around the edges. And along with that, it's not just our story of what is real that is dissolving. It's also all of the systems built on that story. All of our systems are in severe dysfunction right now, and in certain ways falling apart. The public health system, medicine, education, the economy, our entire industrial system, all of these are in crisis. And that is deeply related to the breakdown of reality itself as we have known it. So as it breaks down, then we also get to see glimpses of a new reality in every field, from agriculture to medicine, everything we call holistic or alternative. That's showing us a new reality that is available at the other side of this breakdown. But I see no alternative but to go through this dissolving. And to make it easier, at least we know that there's a destination that we're heading towards. There's another system, another possibility. It's not that we have to rebuild what we already have.